Ladies and gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good Friday morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube at the Early Bird Special. This is the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good Friday morning.
Good morning.
Let them know what they're in for, my friend.
Hey, I didn't see you there.
Didn't see me. I know. I'm sorry. We got to figure out a way to maybe rig this camera up in front of your face.
No,
somehow.
We're good. We're good. Happy Friday.
We don't get enough of your bright, smiling face every day, my friend.
Well, we will recap last night's game, which forced a Game 7, which you called the day before.
Well, it happens. I mean, it's a 50-50 shot, right?
And then we'll preview the real game that I'm looking forward to is the
Yes.
Knicks-Boston game today, as well as news out of Caleb Williams talking about how he didn't want to be a Chicago Bear, which we kind of all knew. But now he's gone public with it with his new book.
Well, it's not his book. Let's be honest about that.
Quoted.
It was a book that was, he was quoted along with his father. But
So I guess they sat down and did an interview for the book.
Yes.
But, I mean, you're a USC guy. So we can talk about maybe what his other options were. I know he looked into playing in some other league, and so, I mean, it is just a crazy story, but we'll have that. We'll have some PGA updates, some sad news out of wrestling, and we'll have Bolt Brady at 8:30 talking basketball, golf, and much, much more. Plus, we're going to make it real easy. If you want to go to Kids Fest, if you want to take your kids out to Kids Fest tomorrow out at the fairgrounds, I believe it's 11 to 3, 11 to 4.
11 to 4, if I'm not mistaken. Or
And,
noon to 4, something like that.
All you got to do is text in sometime between 7 and 9 to 842-2000, and you might just win a family 4-pack with 2 wristbands for the kids to ride all the rides.
And you'd want those wristbands, trust
Yes.
me. There's plenty for your kids to do at this thing, and they're going to be running all over the place wanting to do
You're going to want
I
some
promise you.
sunscreen and some hats.
Yeah,
as well.
not a lot of shade at the fairgrounds. Remember that. So dress accordingly, especially with the water slides and stuff like that. Don't be coming in jeans. It's not a good thing. It's not a good day for jeans.
But you can come say hi. I know I'll be out by the water slides.
I will at least be at the front, letting everybody in, scanning tickets. I don't know exactly what I'll be doing after that, but as far as I know, that is the brunt of my job for Saturday. But it's still a great event. Come out, check it out. The Kids Fest once again at the Kern County Fairgrounds tomorrow. And if you want some tickets, just text in 661-842-2000. We can hook you up with a family 4-pack and 2 unlimited ride wristbands for the kids. It's a dang good deal. You're getting all this for free. All you got to do is text in. Just tell us, I don't know.
Tell me who's going to win tonight, Boston or the Knicks. How about that?
There you go, yeah. Make your prediction for tonight's game. If we like your prediction, we'll give you a pair. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
What'd you think about the Nuggets OKC game last night?
Well, like we said yesterday, I did not expect the Nuggets to go out just absolutely, or at least walk out with a loss here. I thought, though, that Oklahoma City was going to make it a little bit tougher for them. I do, however, agree with Jokic. I think that the difference maker in this game for sure was the defense. And we'll get to Jokic's comments here in a second. But I can't understand why Denver hasn't really focused on the defensive side of the ball yet. That's what really led them to their championship a few years ago. They were the number 1 defensive team in the NBA that year. Plus, having Jokic on the team obviously doesn't hurt with a walking triple-double. But, I mean, as I said yesterday, no real surprise to me that Denver was able to pull off this victory at home. The big question is, can they keep the momentum going and pull off a second straight series where they probably shouldn't have won? Because, again, against the Clippers, everybody was expecting them to get walked out the door as well, especially with the inconsistencies and the coach movement and all that type of stuff. But it definitely seems to me that whatever they have brewing in Denver, at least they can believe in themselves. My hidden MVP of this game, though, Jamal Murray.
Yes.
If Jamal does not play this game, they get walked out. And honestly, actual flu game.
What do you mean actual?
I'm just going to.
Did you not watch that game?
Again,
I watched that live.
I also have heard many, many stories that Jordan may have had food poisoning. It still counts as the flu.
If you've ever had food poisoning,
I know. I'm just saying that food poisoning and the flu, we gotta change up the wording. That's all I gotta say here. It's still equally. Actually, I shouldn't even say equally. Food poisoning is way worse than the flu. Playing on food poisoning is way worse than the flu. But realistically,
put up a game like he did. I mean, that was, back in the day, we never talked about video games like we had talked about doing, but the old NBA game, it was 3 or 4 years ago. It was the last one with Jordan on the cover of it.
2K.
And you can go back 2 games and finish milestones.
Yeah.
And the flu game was in there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of it. No, it has to be in there. That's one of Michael's greatest achievements, honestly. And again, not sitting here saying that Michael's achievement is any worse than Jamal's. Actually, I think it's more for him, because food poisoning, I don't understand why everybody sees that as a different thing in terms of like, oh, that's much easier. No, it is not. As Sparky just said, if you've ever had food poisoning, it's hard to get out of bed.
Yeah. And I mean, even with Jamal Murray, I mean, he had IVs, he was getting, fluids, he was doing breathing treatments and all sorts of crap. And I mean, he was the star of that game.
Oh, 100%. He did. He just took it over. And honestly, between him and Jokic, if you can get those two going early like they did in Game 6, it's really hard to beat Denver, no matter what you have on the other side. Now, the Thunder were greatly missing the production from guys like Jalen Williams, who had an off day. But going back home, Game 7, we saw already what happened when they lost earlier in this series, and they made adjustments and came out accordingly and showed Denver exactly why they were the number 1 team in the West. I kind of expect them to do the very same thing tomorrow.
Well, the same thing, I think they moved it to Sunday. But
Sunday?
Murray has now helped Denver to 9-3 on elimination games, which is insane.
He is the most clutch shooter on this team. I know I've said that on this show a couple times. When Denver wins, it's because Jamal's going off.
Yeah.
Jokic is a walking triple-double every game.
He's that secret sauce. And this is what Jamal had to say about, playing in these elimination games.
How much do you enjoy these back against the wall type of games? You've played well.
I'd rather be up. I don't know. I mean, we've had our fair share. I think it just adds to the character that we build and experience. Chemistry, the trust, another big word. I just think, with that being said, I think we can do a lot better job of being the first to throw the punches and just be up.
Denver has a slew of great players that are seen as role players that really should be stars. Jamal being one of them. But like I was about to say, Jokic is a walking triple-double. If you can get Jamal going in Game 7 and maybe Aaron Gordon at the same time.
Well, he tweaked his ankle towards the end of that game. So that's going to be something they'll be watching.
Absolutely.
I know they had talked post-game that he said he's good to go, but he was also limping on the way out. So hopefully he's healthy and everybody. I mean, that should be a hell of a Game 7. And I'm hoping that that's the only Game 7 we see this weekend. But
well, I mean, the Knicks have a really good chance to wrap it up today. And I genuinely believe they will wrap it up today, although that probably just mushed them right there.
But I'm waiting to hear from Bolt because I want to see what the experts think.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's still sitting at 2.5. Says
Is it?
ESPN bets. Yeah, it's still sitting at 2.5. I'm not crazy about that either. However, I think Jalen Brunson's going to come out angry, especially after fouling out last game. You saw his reaction too on the bench when he waved goodbye to the Boston fans. He does not expect to go back to Boston for a Game 7. And between him, Josh Hart taking an elbow to the face and probably wanting to get receipts, I think the Knicks are going to come out hot and they're going to come out firing. The big question to me, though, and I'm glad you got this soundbite, Sparky, because I want to go to this real quick. It's got to be Karl Anthony Towns. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When the Knicks offense, Brunson's going to be there, much like Jokic. Brunson's going to get his points. You need to funnel the offense through Karl Anthony Towns and get him going. because he's really your best bet at another 30-point shooter. And if you can get two guys producing at the same rate as Brunson is, I don't think there's anybody on any level that can beat you, including the Pacers, the Thunder. It'll be increasingly hard. And that's why I believe that it has to go through Karl Anthony Towns tonight to set that tone. So, and I mean, don't just hear it from me, hear it from Kendrick Perkins, who said pretty much the exact same thing.
You going back to the crib. Jason Tatum is out. The New York Knicks have the better duo right now with Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has to be better defensively, right? They were trying to search him out. Karl Anthony Towns, stop pouting. This is an opportunity for you to become a Knick, like officially become a Knick, right? Go impose your will, bro. No more Luke Cornett outplaying you. Like, no more pouting. None of those dumbass fouls you picking up. Sprint your ass up and down the damn floor. Play with some damn energy and some damn heart, right? You're going home. You're an emotional guy. That building is going to be rocking. I expect him to feed off emotions. I'm looking at Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Take him home in Game 6.
If they could get him on another level like he was playing in Minnesota at times, this Knicks team could win a championship.
One game at a time. But it's funny to hear Perkins talk about.
I know. I was just thinking that in my
wrestling
head. I was like,
players.
can Perkins
one of the most
really
laziest
say...
players I've ever seen.
Yeah, no kidding.
Talking about.
And honestly, like, he never played for the Knicks, so can you really claim when someone is becoming a Knick? I think that you have to be a fan in order for that to happen, or somebody who's played for the Knicks. But again, it's Kendrick, so he has all
the former Celtic,
yep,
so.
and a former champion, so he has all the right in the world to say what he wants. It's always interesting hearing Kendrick's opinions on a lot of these guys, because I swear they would eat him alive. They really, really would. But again, he sells tickets apparently and makes a lot of money for ESPN, so I'm not going to sit here and say anything.
Well, the Denver Game 7 will be Sunday, and tonight's game is 4:30?
I believe it is 4:30, yes. And if I'm not mistaken, you can hear it right here on ESPN Bakersfield starting at 4:30. So if you were looking,
then probably tip offs at probably 5 then.
Yeah, no, that would be a lot. That would make a lot of sense, because usually we have the pregame that's about 30 minutes. So yeah, if you're going to be listening out for that, you can check it out right here on ESPN Bakersfield. And hopefully, like Sparky says, the Knicks can actually wrap this up in the Garden and head to their first Eastern Conference Finals in quite some time to face the Indiana Pacers. Again, probably going to be one of the more entertaining series in this entire playoff run. I know I've said that a couple times, but I don't know about you, Sparky, but I've been kind of thinking about this since watching this. But this year's playoffs for the NBA have been a smash. And honestly, you got pretty much everything you could want out of it. Multiple comebacks, honestly.
Injuries really affected it.
No, not really.
I think the Steph Curry's, the Tatum hasn't really played out yet. But, I mean, the Curry one hit home.
Yeah.
And we got to see, really who could step up and who couldn't step up. And I was going to bring up this. I heard Q Myers yesterday, and it's kind of something that we agreed on is, did the media crown the Knicks a little bit too early? Obviously when Tatum went down, everyone's like, oh, it's over. It's over. And I had that weird feeling like, the teams, if you've ever played a team sport, when you lose your key leader, usually that's when, at least for a game, your team circles around and, plays harder than usual just for your boy. So I'm hoping that, the Knicks are upset, obviously, and they come in with a chip on their shoulder. But Q Myers had this to say.
The third quarter is almost an embarrassment, right? And for me, I'm looking at the New York Knicks, and I'm waiting for them to arrive and show that, hey, this is who we are consistently. Because if you look back at the games that they've won so far, and again, they're still up 3-2, so there's no reason to hit the panic button. They're still in control, and they're headed back to their house. But they have not come out and had that dominant victory where it's like, yeah, this is who we are. We're not going to get down 14. We're not going to get down 20. You're not going to push us around. You're not going to get more physical than us. We're just going to go out there and flat out dominate you.
Yeah.
They haven't had that performance yet, but yet everyone, and I say everyone but us, has said, oh, they're going to win the East. They're going to go to the finals. They might win the championship. championship. And it's like, wait, can they get out of this round first? That's why I kept thinking, all right, they're going to show us in this game 5. They're going to go in there into the belly of the beast and have a dominating performance and say, okay, this is who we are, and this is why you need to be worried about us. But again, once again, they did not show that.
I see his point, but it's a completely different situation when you're going in thinking, okay, we pretty much can wrap this up. And then you're taking game 6 after just losing that game I just talked about, and you're coming out angry.
If there's any team or any coach, it would, if it was any other team going into this with this Knicks roster,
Right.
I'd be like, it's far from over.
Yeah, no,
But
absolutely.
I believe in Coach Tibbs. I believe he's his defensive mind and strategy type coach. I think he'll have this team ready.
Mhm.
And I believe the same thing. I think the Knicks pull it out tonight. I also thought OKC was going to pull it out last night, but I was way off on that one.
Well, again, I wouldn't say way off. I think there were flashes of it, but just Denver knows how to stay alive, and Denver made the necessary plays and adjustments to stay alive. And I think at this point, it's on the Knicks to do the same thing after losing last game. Like I said, I mean, Kendrick made a very good point that better defense needs to be played on Jalen Brunson's part. You can't let Derek White have 30 points again, and Jalen Brown have nearly 30 points. So they need to make the necessary adjustments there. I think you move somebody like OG onto Jalen more now than anything. But I just think the Knicks have what it takes to wrap this series up. My only concern is the same concern we've said for quite some time now, which is the minutes game. Tibbs likes to keep his guys on the floor for 40, 50 minutes if he can, and that doesn't sustainably keep you going. And maybe that gets you out of this series against the Boston Celtics, but going against a team like the Pacers, who made Cleveland look silly because they like to run and they share the ball and everybody gets in on the game, it's going to be hard to keep up with a team like that. So I do agree with Q that I wouldn't crown them to get out of the Eastern Conference Finals just yet.
Yeah.
But if they can, like I said, if they can figure out the offensive situation with Karl Anthony Towns and get him on another level, I think you've got a pretty dang good chance.
Yeah, one battle at a time.
Exactly.
Pacers are not going to be a pushover. But we'll get into this, and we got to get into this Caleb story that came out yesterday right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Oh, this song never gets old. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. If you can't tell, Sparky's trying to wake us all up.
I do.
Honestly, it usually gets going too. So I
Get
can't
some
complain.
Judas Priest at 7 in the morning.
Right? You can't complain. Can't complain
What
on
year
that.
are we in?
Real quick, there is news in the world of football, and it's not very good. But Caleb Williams is now once again in the media's focal point, or at least in the limelight, because according to this new book that has come out, he has been, well, easiest way to say this, he didn't want to go to the Bears.
Who does?
He did not want to be drafted by the Bears, apparently, from this new book that is being released. His father and himself are both quoted in the book saying that Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die.
He said, I don't want my son playing for the Bears.
I disagree. I think Cleveland is where quarterbacks go to die.
Or the Jets.
Or
I mean,
Jets.
there's several teams.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, Justin Fields, you could potentially change that, I guess, but it jury's out in Cleveland. Chicago, I understand, has never had a Hall of Fame quarterback or a superstar quarterback. I guess the closest thing you could think of would be either Caleb or Jay Cutler, which are two very, very bad choices.
Yes.
But I wouldn't go as far as to say that Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, wouldn't you think? Again, I don't know.
I mean, this was coming up before he was drafted.
True.
And there were reports saying that he might pull like an Eli Manning, where he'll tell them that. I mean, I had respect for him because he didn't come out like Eli. And then after a good year, after a good rookie year, it's just weird for this to come out now. But what was funny is if you looked more into the story, they said that him and his father seriously considered ways to avoid being drafted.
Yep.
And even looked into exploring signing with the UFL.
Just to get
it got
out of
that
it.
deep. But I mean, I got to give that kid, whatever agent or whoever, talked him into just play on the rookie deal and see where it goes. I mean, he had a hell of a rookie year. And I mean, if he wouldn't have played that well, I don't think they would have got Ben Johnson and, all the pieces that they've added this offseason. But and I'm going to go off that because Caleb had this to say about, what he thinks the new coach will do for his career.
I think us growing together is key. Starting now, him pushing me, key, and I know that, and he knows that. Him pushing me because it's as he says, and as he said before, it's a QB-driven league, and so being able to have that position right on every team. That's why that position is so important in draft, or people trying to get the QBs is at this day and age of the game. I would say is because it's so QB driven, and if you have that position right, it helps with a bunch of different things. And so so building that bond, him pushing me and us growing together for years to come is it's gonna be fun. I can't wait, and to be able to help me learn more about ball because he's super smart, super sharp.
So the book coming out's name is American Kings, a biography of the quarterback. It's by Seth Wickersham, who's a senior ESPN writer. And I agree with him that growing together is going to be key, especially if they're going to get this to work. But I kind of this isn't a good look. He has to understand that, right? When you come out in a book saying that you didn't want to be drafted by the team who drafted you, you wanted to be drafted by their direct rival, Minnesota.
Yes.
And your dad's going around claiming that you guys were finding legal action to take. You guys were trying to find any way possible to get out of it, when really all it would have taken was on draft day, just tell them, no, don't draft me. I won't play for you, like certain quarterbacks did.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think there's questions that we're going to be in the same boat when Arch comes back, comes in a couple of years, because Eli and Arch, obviously same family. But if you're looking to grow together, in Caleb's words, is it not good to maybe reach out to this writer and say, hey, redact that?
Yeah, you can retract that.
Yeah, let's not
I'm happy here
release
now.
that, please.
Which I kind of like the guy because he goes to the Bulls games and he gets, a lot of love.
Yeah, he leans into it very well. I mean, he wants to be the face of Chicago, but when
But
you're
I'm glad you said that because I'm going to play this clip from Michelle Smallman, because she kind of put it in where, and I want to hear from you if you think this makes him sound entitled.
The way that things have been reading for Caleb Williams, whether it's the comments that he's made about his peers, whether it's the body language at times, whether it's now what we see in him demanding, I want to work with Kevin O'Connell. I want to work with Ben Johnson. I need all of this around me to have success. For somebody who hasn't done anything in this league, he sure has a lot of confidence in his agency and what he wants and what he needs. And dare I say, it comes off a bit entitled. You're not getting this from other rookie quarterbacks, at least not publicly in the same way. And Caleb Williams better go out there and ball out now that he's got what he wanted.
Oh, 100%. I agree with her. That was the word I was trying to find, is entitled, because it really does kind of make you sound entitled. We have seen quarterbacks come in that have equal hype, or at least a pretty significant amount of it when they come into the draft. Caleb came in with a lot. And I mean, like, next savior a lot. But the last person that we saw that did that was Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, Trevor could have easily had the same situation where he said, I don't want to go play in Jacksonville. Who wants to go play in Jacksonville?
Nobody.
So I think that you also have a duty, and you have to remember as well, and I think that we forget about this. The draft isn't necessarily just lining up kids on the wall and picking
Picking your team.
Yeah, your
Your
kickball league.
dodgeball. Yeah.
It's a job interview. It's legitimately a job interview. That's why that's the reason why everyone keeps giving why Shedeur fell. I think there are other things that would factor into that as well, but we won't get into that. But when you fail the job interview, obviously you're going to slide. When you don't fail the job interview, you're going to get the job. Caleb obviously passed the job interview. And Chicago really liked him, so much so that they went out and got a whole new wide receiver room, have built a whole new offensive line for you this year, and are doing everything possible for you to succeed. Why would you not want to go to that? Why? Like, that's my one gripe against him saying I didn't want to go to Chicago. This team has literally bent over backwards to do everything to make you successful.
Now, yeah. But
I would say since the year before they got there.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that they should have got rid of the coach the year
Fair.
before.
That was, Nagy should have probably been relieved.
But they probably wouldn't have been able to get Ben Johnson then. So, I mean, it's all working out for him, but now it's in his court. So maybe it's a good thing. I mean, I didn't watch him in college, so I didn't know what to expect. I watched the final couple of games of their season, his last year. But let's take a break because I want to flip the side and see what you think, not only about the future of Caleb and the setup that Chicago's given him, but just in future quarterbacks in future drafts, like you brought up Manning. And if this is something that we're going to see more of these entitled, I guess I would use with these quarterbacks. I mean, is it time? I know we almost got into it last week, but the whole reason, or the talk of maybe the NFL moving away from their draft format, and and how would that benefit future rookies? But we'll get into that and much more right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 1230 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. It's a fun Friday.
Opposite of yacht rock, I'll tell you that.
Yes, absolutely. Very much so. So, yeah, rock. We will not.
No,
Not.
you'll never hear that.
It's another radio or show that'll play that for you. However, we're gonna get into more of this Caleb Williams stuff. I mean, okay. I know we're talking about Caleb being entitled with the way he talks about this kind of stuff and the way he presents himself. And I get why, because honestly, being somebody who's watched this kid since his college days and really hasn't won anything. Like he really hasn't been that guy. I know he's been seen as that guy, and the talent obviously is there, but he has not had the success to really warrant the, I guess, again, the entitlement that has been around him. But should we not talk about how his father is a big proponent of why this is a problem? I mean, when you really get into it, if you read the story, they talk about how he reached out to Archie Manning to see what his son could do, going to labor lawyers and agents, like you said, potentially signing with the UFL for a year just so he can leave the UFL the next year and open up as a free agent to the NFL in 2025 and get to pick where he goes, which is ridiculous in my personal opinion. I mean, and he all says this is all because the rookie market cap is unconstitutional, quote unquote, from what he saes, and is the worst POS that he has ever read in sports history. And again, and he's saying this because his son, in his opinion, will lose hundreds of millions of dollars in market value due to being possibly or shackled to a team that drafted him for up to 8 years. Dude, all this sounds like to me is daddy's trying to make as much money off his son as he possibly can.
We've heard these before.
Yep.
And Bears GM, which I'll give respect to, he had told us, and he told he told the Williams family, we're drafting you no matter what. So there's nothing you can do. And I know the Williams family had considered, publicly attacking Chicago to force them to trade out. And Caleb said after he visited the Bears facility, he said it changed his mind. He said that he can do it with this type of team. And, the rookie season struggles, the Bears lost 10 straight games, and which was, I think, overdue, but they then fired head coach Eberflus and the offensive coordinator. And one thing that came out in that story is that Caleb said that when he was with the former coach, that he watched all the film alone with no instructions, no guidance. And that was, what he was expecting. He was not expecting in Chicago when he decided, I'm going to play. And he said it was tough in Chicago after year one. And that's stuff that you don't see watching football. But I'm going to bring up Chris Canty, who pretty much said Chicago is a dumpster fire.
Chicago Bears organization, dumpster fire. They're trash bags in terms of how they've handled this. But I'm not going to sit here and absolve Caleb Williams of any blame when it comes to this as well. Because if you go through year one and you don't know how to watch film and you ain't talked to nobody about how to watch film, that's on the organization, but that's also on you.
Yeah, that part I agree with. You have to take the initiative as a professional to know what you're doing and obviously know how to approach your job and how to get better at that job. To blame that on the organization, though, is a little bit of a stretch. I feel like at that point, especially going into your profession, you should know that by now. That's part of the basics of being a quarterback or really just playing in the NFL is knowing how to watch film, how to break it down for yourself, and how to just get better, how to see all the highlights. Now, I do agree that you should probably be sitting down with at least a quarterback coach who can highlight, hey, we would prefer you do this than what you did here. But you're not going to have that every single time you're watching film. You're only going to have that maybe 10% of the time. There's going to be a vast majority of the time where you're sitting at home watching this stuff. And that I think that it just, again, shows the immaturity in Caleb's game at the moment. I genuinely think that if Caleb took the necessary steps, maybe separated himself a little bit more from his family and took this upon himself as a man to just become the professional he needs to be the star in Chicago that Chicago has desperately looked for their entire franchise, it would probably benefit him a little bit more. we have to wait for that maturity. And unfortunately, it probably won't come until after he leaves Chicago. Because if these reports are true and everything that is coming out in this book here in September is true, I don't see him signing a contract with Chicago after this, which means to me, if you are Chicago, would it be more beneficial for you to just say, you know what, let's trade the kid away and just start over? Because if he doesn't want to play here, he's not going to get better being here. You know what I mean?
Now that they've done everything to, set up the stage for him, got him a solid coach, built around, like you said, a new wide receiver room, a big offensive line. I mean, you're giving everything now. So you think if he takes a step back in his second year, which a lot of reporters are thinking it's going to happen, I think, he's a hell of a quarterback,
Right.
but it's the maturity is the issue.
Yeah, it's all in the head. I don't think any of Caleb's issues have ever been his talent at football. I think that's what really lures people to him. But I think that he is really in danger of having the maturity and the mental factor be what ends up doing him in, because you need to be better about that as a professional. And you need, especially if you want to be a superstar on anybody's team, regardless if it's Chicago, Minnesota, wherever, doesn't matter. You have to be able to do that, or you're not gonna be successful. We've seen plenty of quarterbacks come in with all the talent in the world, Jay Cutler, and not have any of the mental fortitude, Jay Cutler, to actually get it to work. There have been plenty of stories. I know I keep yelling out Jay Cutler, but there's been plenty of stories that have actually had that happen too. And it's sad to see. And Caleb could be the next in line of that if he doesn't learn quickly how to mature up and figure this out, because there's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to deal with you if the success isn't behind it. You're only as valuable as the dollar sign that you make for the organization at the end of the day.
And we had some news come out this morning from Jeremy Fowler. Said Derek Carr's rep actually had spoke to at least 2 teams before deciding to retire.
I did see that. I mean, again, I figured as much, that he wasn't just looking to retire. There had to have been at least some look into, can I play anywhere else?
And get out of New Orleans.
Yeah. Again, I think I think it was just the right time. I think Derek made the right move. Just the way your career went down, it looks better on you just to walk away from it on your terms and heal, and obviously do or whatever is coming next. I'm not sure what that next step is for the Carr family in general, but we'll see.
I wonder what 2 teams it was.
I would assume the Pittsburgh Steelers would have been one of those choices. And maybe, well, it really depends when they were talking to him, because if we're talking pre-draft, post-draft, there's not a lot of, you're right, there's not a lot of teams outside of Pittsburgh that I could think of that would need a starting quarterback. And I doubt Derek was talking to anybody to be a backup.
Yeah.
So unless maybe there's one of these teams with a rookie that they aren't fully sold on, Cleveland.
Their full quarterback room.
Yeah. I mean, again, those are the only 2 teams that really swear out to me, or maybe the Minnesota Vikings too, if JJ McCarthy isn't fully ready. You know what I mean?
And I had another miscellaneous story out of the NFL that we could wrap up real quick before. I don't know if you want to get into this in the final break of this hour, but we've had some interesting baseball news for some former players. But yesterday, the San Francisco 49ers reported they're nearing a deal to sell a percentage of the team to 3 separate Bay Area families. But when they do that, that's when you find out what the value of the team is currently. And they're looking at $8.5 billion with a B. And that just brought up, like, wow, dude.
Again, well, these teams have become so just lucrative that it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we talked about it with the Portland Trailblazers going up for sale earlier in the week. There have been moves, the Boston Celtics selling a portion of their stuff for a couple $2 billion. These sports organizations are worth that much money. I know it's weird to hear, because everybody just thinks, oh, I buy my jersey for $50. Can't be that much. It genuinely is. These things are cash cows. There's a reason why sports thrive in this entire world, and there's a reason why sports thrive in America, and it's because of money. It genuinely is. And buying into any foot or NFL organization being the number one sport in America, it's going to be a couple billion, and that's for a minority share.
Yeah, that's just a 5-6% of a
That's
team is insane.
incredible. Yeah, but then again, you also take into account the 49ers longevity of championships and the history and stuff like that. So it does make a lot of sense. Does it say who the families are, if they have any like stake in the city or anything of that nature? Like these are prominent families.
It says the Kozla, Dieter, and Griffith families are the buyers, with the Kozlers purchasing 3%, Dieter's 2%, and the Griffiths 1%. But yeah, the buyers have backgrounds in venture capital, including the Kozla is a co-founder of a microsystem program or a company. The Dieters are partners in a venture group, and William Griffith is a partner of Iconic Capital.
So they make money making money.
Yeah,
that
much.
makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, again, these are the things that just kind of happen. A 5% stake of the Niners, that's so wild to me. It's $8 billion for a small stake in a team, but it makes sense. You think of the amount of money from the TV deals that the NFL makes, the amount of money they make per game.
And the salary cap continues to go up every year.
I mean, it's pennies on the dollar now, and honestly, it makes you kind of wonder if they had to pay $8 billion for just a small piece of this team. Why can't they pay Brock Purdy his money?
Right. And letting guys go like Debo, but we'll get into that. Plus, we've got some miscellaneous crime news out of the world of baseball coming up.
Ugh.
And then in the second hour, we'll get into the PGA standings after the opening round, as well as some news out of wrestling before we get Bull Brady in here to talk about how we can make some money off these the games this weekend right here on the Early Bird Special. ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. This is the early bird special, wrapping up this hour one. Give me a little bit of karaoke. There is a couple stories out of the world of baseball, and once again, not great. But
We won't talk about the Dodgers almost putting up 20.
again, well, I mean, say this: Shohei Ohtani had 2 home runs on his bobblehead night. That's pretty cool.
Bobblehead night.
Again, but when it's Shohei Ohtani, though, and anybody really that's. But first, 2 former players are facing allegations right now, including the former pitcher Danny Serafini, who is is accused of killing his father-in-law back in 2021. There was an ambush involving his father-in-law and his wife, Wendy Wood, in which the father died. Wendy survived, but she then killed herself a couple years later. And it comes to, or the police or authorities have come to find out that Serafini, along with his accomplice and I guess lover, is what I'm hearing here, and the nanny of the family, apparently just conspired to kill the father. Not sure exactly why. I haven't really figured that part out yet. But there has been a flirtatious relationship between him and the nanny for quite some time, who is about in her 30s. And Serafini is now facing charges because the trial, I believe, started finding jury members earlier this week and will be on murder trial as they try to figure this out. He is the main
Yeah, they said their
main,
video surveillance came out and showed a hooded man approaching the homes hours before the shooting, and they think that Dan was hiding out at the home before
Right.
they arrived.
which they say why she is also being arrested, the accomplice and lover, because she drove him there, I guess is what happened, is what they're saying, is she was the driver and the essentially the accomplice to the entire thing. So both of them are in very, very serious trouble for all of this. Again, what leads people to do these kinds of things? I'm not 100% sure. Serafini played for multiple teams in his tenure with the MLB. He was a pitcher for the Twins, amongst others, and not an amazing player, to be honest with you. But this all happened in, I believe, Lake Tahoe back in 2021. And again, for it to have taken this long to figure out it was him, it honestly says something. But
I remember him on a Bar Rescue.
do you really?
That's how I remember the name.
I honestly don't remember that episode, so you'll have to remind me. But
yeah, he was a bar owner.
That doesn't surprise me
and
whatsoever.
had Taffer go in there and yell at him a few times and fix up his bar.
Of course, and that's usually how those goes. It's the formula of the show. But his wife, Yarin, the daughter of the two parents, will also be on trial as one of the witnesses to the entire thing. I hope we figure out exactly what is going on. This type of thing is terrible for baseball. It really, really is. I hate
just
seeing
sad
these kind of
story in
stories come
general.
out.
It's just jacked up.
It really is. And just, I mean, we will follow it as close as we can and give you guys updates. But for you guys who know who this guy is, it baffles me, but I never understand why people do these kind of things.
And former all-star shortstop Rafael Furcal turned himself into Broward County Jail on Wednesday, as he's looking at some felony charges as well. 2 serious felony charges: aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and throwing a missile into public dwelling or vehicle. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. What the hell did he throw, first of all, and how does it come up as a missile?
That's what I want. Well, again, I
mean, this is like a Wild Thing Wednesday story.
To be fair, I think the missile part is probably just play on words there, but I
hope.
am in the same word. I'm the same as you. I want to know if there was explosives involved in this or what the deal was. I think the missile is probably more the speed at which he threw it, because he is an all-star shortstop and had a heck of an arm. But that's also what I was kind of curious about, because the wording of all of this, the throwing of the missile.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Okay.
Wow.
Just picking up a rocket and throwing it right at a car. I don't know exactly how to explain that.
I mean, he turned himself in and he was released on bail shortly after that. So it wasn't a real missile.
No, obviously not.
But no details really have been released on the incident. So I'm kind of looking forward to finding out what the hell he threw.
Yeah, I'm sure something will come out of this, or at least a trial at some point at some time. But I'm also with you. I want to know what he threw. I don't know if it was a baseball or, I mean, I know we jokingly call them missiles from outfield, but it's, maybe it has something to do with speed. It has to have something to do with speed, right? Maybe I'm crazy.
But he won a World Series with the Cardinals in 2011, and we'll keep an eye on it. But that's two crazy ass stories out of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think Furcall's in that much trouble as much as obviously Stefani is, but
we'll have our attorney Kyle Jones here joining us here in a couple of weeks, so
I would
maybe
love
he
to talk
could
to him
break
about
down what
this.
that charge is.
And with so many of these law stories coming out lately, we need somebody on the show to make sense of it, because I have no idea in terms of legal jargon, none whatsoever. But stick around right here. We got to pay some bills, but we'll be right back for hour 2 of the early bird special. The PGA Championship is underway, so we'll give you an update on what the leaderboard looks like. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special, hour 2. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. And as I said before the break, the PGA Championship is underway as round 2 kicked off this morning. Jonathan Vegas still your leader at 6 under. Max Homa, Rye, and Thorbjornsen, along with, it looks like Gerard, are tied for second at 5 under. And a slew of others tied for 6th at 4 under. The cut line currently sits at 1 over. A couple names that are currently under that line. Justin Thomas, who has yet to start his round of the day. Ricky Fowler, Chris Kirk, Sam Burns, amongst others. Jordan Spieth at 3 over right now. So they're going to need some big play in order to pull this off and stay above ground here at the PGA Championship. We'll talk more about that with our boy Bolt Brady at 8:30. So if you have any questions for Bolt, including for the NBA playoffs, because I know a lot of you guys watch basketball more than you watch golf, but if you want to make some money this weekend, this is the guy to ask. I mean, he top 5 win percentage. I'm telling you right now, that is not something. Apparently, we have Django Fett in the house.
I was wondering what the hell that sign was.
Man,
never
I was
know.
on a roll. Gosh dang it.
Lucky you didn't look up right at the beginning of the hour, because that's what.
Is that what happened when you looked up?
I
I'm
was
not
like-
sure. Sorry about that, folks. If you're watching the YouTube video, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. So go watch that. Maybe
But no,
it'll set you
I know
straight.
Bolt is a big golf guy.
Yes.
I got into it with a buddy of mine yesterday because I was trying to explain to him that I don't look at golf as not really as a sport. I know it's a sport because you're hitting a ball, but it's something I cannot watch. I've tried. I watched the Masters for the first time this year,
Yeah.
and it put me to sleep.
No, I
and-
get it. It's not for everybody. It's just like every sport is not for everybody. That's the whole point. That's
But
why
if you
there's-
can find a way to make money, I'm all in.
Absolutely. And honestly, I see golf as a sport, but it's for different reasons. It's more the carrying of the clubs, the walking around and actually having to do the exercises. Honestly, if anybody has played 18 holes of golf, you know how you feel the next day and you're sore. So anything that makes you sore like that and is active, I count it as a sport. So including pickleball, even though it's incredibly lame. I'm sorry. I'm going to be the one to say it. Incredibly lame. And I played tennis.
But Jonathan Vegas, stealing the show out of the opening round. I was looking at his pass with the stats. He was at a 2-shot lead as of yesterday.
Mhm.
And it is his best score in 45 major championship rounds.
That's pretty impressive. I was unaware of that one. But I mean, again, whether he holds on to this or not is up in the air. I know that these golfers are struggling, and especially the big names are struggling because of how the course is right now. It's really tough. And I don't mean tough as in like physically. I mean tough as in it's muddy. It looks gross. It's been rained on. And again, they've done a very good job at keeping up on it. It still looks beautiful. But in terms of golf on it, they're really hard. You have to hit these balls very high, very far in order to get any carry out of them. Any like length of carry out of your hit. So right now, a lot of these guys are struggling because of that. And I think
golf in the mud.
Yeah, exactly. And I think at this point, it's really going to take a couple days or so for it to dry up a little bit. And then you'll see maybe a couple of these notable names like your Jordan Spieths and your Justin Thomases and stuff like that sneak up back into
Scheffler.
there. Yeah.
I know Scheffler had this to say on golfing in the mud.
I don't personally think that hitting the ball in the middle of the fairway you should get punished for. And I understand how a golf purist would be like, oh, play it as it lies, but I don't think they understand what it's like literally working your entire life to learn how to hit a golf ball and control it and hit shots and control distance. And all of a sudden, due to a rules decision, that is completely taken away from us just by chance. And in golf, there's enough luck throughout a 72-hole tournament. I don't think that the story should be whether or not the ball's played up or down. I think when I look at golf tournaments, I want the purest, fairest test of golf. And in my opinion, maybe today the ball should have been played up.
Honestly, Scotty's right, but this is just kind of how the game lies. I know he's the greatest golfer in the game right now, and he's really not that far off. Him, Bryson DeChambeau, Colin Morikawa, Adam Scott, they're all 2 under. And honestly, he hasn't started his round yet. He starts later on this afternoon, but it takes one good round. I agree with him that if you hit a ball in a fairway, it should be the easiest hit for you because that's the point of the game. But sometimes the fairways are soft, sometimes the fairways are hard, and that's the just adjustment that you have to make as an athlete and as a golfer. So, I mean, cry me a river is the wrong way to put it, but sorry, bud. Like, you're just going to have to make an adjustment.
I know a lot of people were expecting, Jordan Spieth to, opening with the 76 is kind of his career Grand Slam chase is probably likely delayed another year, but I mean, there's plenty of golf to be played, and I'll leave it to the experts like you or Bolt, because when I think of golf, I immediately think of my old Mario golf game, or
I love that game. Oh man, that was so much fun.
But if you catch me watching golf, I'm either medicated or I
asleep,
lost the remote control.
Yeah, well, that's a possibility too. Again,
and that does happen a lot. You can ask Ghostface because
How do you lose your remote? Put it on the table, man.
It's when you fall asleep watching something and it, and you have 3 cats that, take things. I have to hide stuff. Luckily, I have gargoyles in my room that,
Your cats
keep
are
my
strong enough to pick up your remote?
My cats are strong, and we don't have a big remote, so that's also
Okay. That's but I mean, still, I know your cats had opposable thumbs. That's interesting.
Mine does. Yes,
Dang.
they're special.
You must live with Garfield. You cook a lot of lasagna, don't you?
We actually did have lasagna.
Nah,
Thank
look at
you.
that.
I'm gonna have to throw out some love to Caesar's.
Oh,
Caesar's
so good.
Deli. They've made me look like a good chef in
For
many
years.
years. When I pick up a $15 family lasagna, and that's our go-to.
It's so fantastic. I love their food. But
But we did have a couple texts that I'm going to save for Bolt regarding golf. But let's take an early break because there was some news out of wrestling.
oh yeah, we got to talk about Jim Ross. I forgot about
And
this.
I actually pulled a story. I wasn't sure if we were going to get to it, but it was discussing the Triple H era, and it has started out real. I mean, I wouldn't say
Exciting.
exciting, but there's a lot of viewers that are now starting to complain.
Yeah.
And I know a couple of things that have kind of been brought up when we have KG in here, whether it's the women's tag team title or other things that I want to bounce off you if we get some time before Bolt. Right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. vibe change. I don't know.
Wake me up.
Welcome back to the early bird special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. And for a fun Friday, we picked a real slew of awful like stories to be talking about
Right.
today. But another story that kind of broke yesterday in the afternoon that we wanted to mention: pro wrestling commentator Jim Ross, JR, unfortunately was diagnosed with colon cancer, as he posted yesterday, or I believe it was yesterday or the day before, on his social media accounts, that he'll be stepping away from AEW for some time to battle this cancer and hopefully stave this off. He has also experienced a stroke as well as some Bell's palsy
Yeah, the skin
symptoms, I
cancer a couple years
believe.
ago.
Yep, and he's health-wise, he's just been a little bit scary as of late. So we wish him well, and we send our prayers and stuff to arguably the best commentator wrestling's ever had. I mean, it's JR, man. Or at least in my opinion, my entire life watching wrestling was JR and King.
I mean, I would take King over him. I just never liked JR,
Really?
and he was just a bit too much. And I would be ashamed if I didn't bring up Michael Cole, because that guy's been
Oh yeah, no,
here forever.
Michael Cole is the new age like great one, but
But growing
again,
up, I was the Macho Man
True.
was the one.
No, that's true. He was great on the commentary desk. That's a fantastic point. But yeah, I mean,
But JR was something else. That slobber knocker. And I mean, post his, sadly I was young, so after the stroke, I thought that was a give. I thought it was a part of the story.
right.
And then once they started showing him after post, he's had a rough year,
Yeah,
a rough career.
5 to
I mean,
10 years.
when I was
really.
looking into it, it said, yeah, he had his first cancer diagnosis was in 2021, where he fought skin cancer. And after 2 months, he was cancer free.
Mhm.
He had surgery for that, and they found cancer in his hip in February of last year, along with the stroke that you brought up. I had no idea that he was still, but I am also probably the only person that watches wrestling that hasn't seen AEW on TV.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, he's a contributor to AEW. I wouldn't necessarily say he's part of the commentary team. He really just pops up for matches that he wants to commentate for. And I think well, much like Michael Cole, he helps train a lot of the commentary and how they can get better and what they need to do to get better and all that type of stuff. He really has had a hand in a lot of these guys that you see or hear technically on the commentary desks for wrestling. So I think that's more what his role is with AEW nowadays. But you will see him return to the commentary desk every so often. It's more just for nostalgia reasons, though, or if it's somebody that he, has commentated for a long time and says,
Invested with.
yeah, he has some invest. Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't necessarily call him part of the commentary team, but it is great to see him every so often when he does pop up.
I mean, he did 20 years with WWE. He was a big part of the Attitude Era. If you think of any of those Stone Cold Rock matches, it was always JR, spitting and throwing and yelling and screaming.
By gods,
by God,
the man's on. He's got a family. I mean, again, this is why I'm saying this though, dude. Like, as much as I love Michael Cole, I do love Michael Cole and what he does now with Pat McAfee and the entire crew. But it's Jim Ross. Jim Ross is wrestling, man. Like, it's already hard enough not hearing him and King anymore, but it's hard for me to say any commentary duo was better than those two, and arguably any commentator was better than JR. The amount of just sayings that he has created that are legendary now, it's unimaginable that anybody can get anywhere close.
No. I mean, keeping it in wrestling, I was going to bounce this off you, and it's something that me and KG have talked off the air. I'm sure you've talked to him about it too, but booming business in the WWE, but whether it's, when they signed on to Netflix or extended the weekly shows to an hour. But I mean, a lot of it has been, largely positive since Triple H has taken over.
Oh, absolutely.
But
especially on the money side of it all,
fan criticism is starting to come up more and more just recently is a few things. One is the oversaturated event schedule, which I know you had brought up that they're in discussion of cutting back on the house shows.
They did. Yeah. It was just released, I believe, by The Athletic or by one of the news associates that follow wrestling pretty closely that I was reading, that they were planning on cutting down house shows and events in general to about 200 a year. Now, that doesn't change their television schedule at all, but that means like the shows that aren't on TV that you see maybe coming to your town on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Sunday aren't going to be there as often anymore. But that's to do multiple things. It's obviously to cut back on the oversaturation of the product a little bit. It's to cut back on the performances for these athletes because you need to fix a lot of the injury problems that have been going on in the locker room, amongst other things, fatigue being one of them. And honestly, we've seen it with the ticket prices. You're getting plenty of money. You're getting plenty of money. That's why I laugh at every PLE when they say, "Oh, we broke another record for box office or at the door, blah blah blah." Like,
and they always word it like we broke the record of the biggest sale.
That's
for
great.
wrestling here.
Yeah.
In this venue.
Yeah, in this venue. And it's like, I totally get that. That's awesome. Congratulations. But when you're selling your tickets for about 300% more than you would have sold them 5-6 years ago, of course you're going to break that bank, especially when it's the WWE and you know they're going to pack out the building.
Well, one of the things that came up in the report was there's too many premium events scheduled too close together.
Yeah.
So, for example, Backlash was 3 weeks after WrestleMania, and then they'll have Saturday night's main event 2 weeks later, and then Money in the Bank 2 weeks later after that, and then Night of the Champions is going to be June 28th with another Saturday night main event on July 12th, followed by the potential of Evolution 2 on the day after on July 13th. And people are saying, the events don't have time to breathe as a wrestling fan. And it feels like maybe they may lead to safer, less creative booking to have bigger moments in the bigger matches.
I can see that.
So, I as a fan, I haven't seen it. I was surprised that Backlash was so quick. I do say maybe right after WrestleMania. The big thing was the Raw after WrestleMania, but it kind of seemed drawn out, or it almost felt like they hit reset. Okay, let's get all these stories in 1 week. So, if you watched Raw and SmackDown right after WrestleMania, there was a ton of, interferences and just setting up all the stories within that 1 week. So I can see where some of these experts or reporters are saying maybe there is not enough time to breathe, let the story play out. But you're a big wrestling fan. Do you see the same thing? Or
well, not necessarily. I personally don't see the hate, or I don't see why the hate is there. I enjoy the product from everybody's perspective. I mean, in AEW included, I'm genuinely starting to enjoy AEW again. But I think people are seeing this as more, it's inconsistent. Because if you look at the schedule pre-WrestleMania, it seemed like we had about 2 months to build up for WrestleMania, right? Even though it was really about a month and a half. But now, like you said, it's a really good point that you're getting these pay-per-views 2 to 3 weeks apart from each other. It's weird now. It's like you gave us a month to figure out some of these stories about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, but now we're having to deal with all of these stories right after the other. And I see why that could be overbearing at points. I do agree that they need to spread out the schedule a little bit more, maybe give us a month in between each PLE at the least.
I thought that's what it usually was.
Back when I was younger, I think it was even more than that. I think it was like a month or two. Like it was quite some time before you actually got to the next PLE, or at that point pay-per-views. But
that was pre-backlashes, and every once in a while they'd pop up in your house or something, but it wasn't every month and on top of two live shows a week.
But I think everybody also has to remember that this is the point in time in wrestling, especially if you're watching the WWE, that it's the start of a new season. So literally the production team has taken a handful of spaghetti and thrown it at the wall.
See if it sticks.
And seeing what sticks. Exactly. So that's why you're getting all of these stories at the same time that seem like, okay, why am I being like, why is all of this coming at me at once? It's like, that's because they're trying to figure out what you want. They're trying to figure out, okay, which stories are taking precedent? Which stories are we going to go with for this PLE, for this PLE, for this PLE? Because they now have to plan multiple of these pay-per-views months in advance.
And the other one is it goes into where they're saying the presentation is over substance, where the PLEs features too many commercials, which I can agree on that one. But the drawn out entrances for certain wrestlers, the unnecessary celebrity cameos, which as long as they're going to be on Netflix, I'm sure it's part of their contract.
Yep.
They're going to pump up whatever Netflix special or series is coming up.
Yep.
Which you're going
Same with
to take
Peacock.
with it. Exactly. But the positive thing is that they're saying how Netflix has kind of grown with the show. It's not 3 hours all the time. It's kind of made Raw better. But on the opposite side, it's saying, SmackDown at 3 hours, it just seems the quality has decreased.
Well, SmackDown being 3 hours isn't going to be that way forever. I think right now they just have it that way because it's their only television product and they have to fill a certain amount of time on that network in order to actually keep the contract going. Once that contract ends, I fully expect SmackDown to move off of television and onto another streaming service. It probably won't even be Netflix. It'll probably be something completely different.
Else.
It'll probably be Hulu or, some other, God only knows what it'll be, maybe Amazon. But I think that Raw being on Netflix has been nothing but a positive because of the time frame. And it's just like Triple H said at the beginning of this, they don't have to adhere to any time frame that a network gives them. They can go as long or as short as they need to. And every episode has the perfect amount of time to tell each story. As far as the commercials, if you live in America, you're just going to have to get over that, dude. That's in everything. I mean, unless you fork over the extra $5-10, which isn't even on the WWE, that's actually on the provider.
Apps.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is, I don't rush home on Mondays to watch Raw, and I could watch it after it ends. You can watch it, and there's no commercials. And with SmackDown, for some reason, I have it on Hulu, so I can record it. And for some reason, on the West Side or West Coast, it doesn't air until 8. So I have to stay off social media not to see any spoilers, but then I can fast forward through it.
Right.
So I don't really watch the commercials. But the other two things that were brought up in this story is one is the women's division series or issues. They think, the tag team division has been gutted recently. And, the current champions, whether it's the Liv and Raquel, outside commitments. We talked about Liv doing a movie and how they let them keep the titles. And usually the women's mid card is where it feels like it's falling short. I think what they're bringing in with all these NXT girls and, I think the women's part is actually grown well, but it's like you said, with the spaghetti thing, they're trying to figure out
what sticks and what isn't.
Exactly. After we watched, the Lyra and the Man, and even before that with the girls from NXT, and if you've watched LFG, there's some serious talent coming in, and I almost feel like some of these older wrestlers are probably on their way out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And again, I think that's what we're seeing in front of your eyes is just the changing of the guard. And I know that, trust me, I have been the first one to complain that the women's roster has been lackluster in certain areas outside of your like main stars like Io, Rhea, and all of those. But I think you stumbled into it right there, my friend, is the NXT kids are on their way up, which means all of these mid-carders that haven't been doing the job are most likely, unfortunately, on their way either down or out. And the next guard is coming in. Bailey and Becky and all of them, I think it's coming to that point where maybe might be time for retirement. I know Tiffany Naomi has talked about wanting to take a break to start her family and stuff like that with Jimmy. And I completely understand that. I know a lot of these other wrestlers do that as well. I think it's just time for the next guard to come in and kind of just show out, because that's really where this talent is going to be, is a lot of these women at the development level, for lack of better term, are ready to come up. And I think Triple H knows that, and he's ready to feed them into the fire, really.
Well, the final thing before we take a break and get Bolton here is the John Cena heel. They had initially reported that The Rock and the heel turn from Cena was, I mean, everyone was talking about it, whether you watched wrestling or not. Cena was all over the place.
Oh yeah.
And now it seems like the viewers are starting to see that they're disappointed in the matches that have been happening with Cena. I personally enjoy it.
Mhm.
I think, but I also didn't grow up watching Cena
Mhm.
as what everybody knows him as.
Right.
So I mean, I like when the good guy turns bad, but a lot of this report just says it seems cartoonish with the promos that Cena's, whether he's not on one week and then back another week. I almost feel like the same thing where I think the what's his face? The
Randy Orton. Who are we talking
No, the
about?
guy that takes in and out that just got hurt. My gosh. The tribal leader.
Oh, Roman.
Yeah, reports are saying, that we probably won't see him for a while.
Yeah, probably not.
And with all these years with Cody Rhodes being, the leader and carrying the WWE, it almost feels like maybe they need to bring him back real soon
Mm.
because a lot of people are starting to get sick and tired of like what we had said with KG, the long entrances with Yeet, and not having that superhero type guy like Cody that kind of saves the day.
Well, I mean, I think you do have that still, just at a different level. But the long entrances and the overdrawn situations, like the Yeet fatigue from what Kimball was telling us on Tuesday, I just think that people are just kind of getting just bored with it a little bit. You just need to bring in something a little new. That's why I like with these stories with Jey Uso that you get the bigger character, your Gunthers that are just a hill for him to climb. The Logan Pauls are kind of a good way to level him out, to show everybody, okay, this guy's a champion. He can at least fight people, but you need to have bigger names like a Gunther go after guys like him in order to keep the crowd on the side of the hero. When it comes to Cody, I think we get Cody back this week. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was an announcement that he's supposed to be back this week.
Nice.
I might be wrong on that though. Don't quote me. So
but
that
if you're a
would be
wrestling
tonight.
fan, it's part of the story. There's
Absolutely.
always something that's growing. You know what I
And-
mean? It's always going to be something. There's a curveball that's going to change up the whole story.
And honestly, the people hating on John Cena's heel turn, you're going to be completely beside yourself at the end of this, I think. I
When it's over.
genuinely believe at the end of this, everybody's going to be on the same page saying, actually, this was pretty brilliant. I really like the way he did this. And honestly, he told us exactly how he was going to do it a year ago when he was doing promos for Ricky Stenicki. I played the audio for you on this show, but he told us exactly how this was going to go. It's going exactly this way. And honestly, I'm here for it.
Yep.
I'm all for it. I think it's doing great, and I think he needs to continue to do so.
Well, let's take a break. We'll get Bolt Brady in here and hear how you can make money. I want to hear what he has to say about not only Game 7 on Sunday with OKC and Denver, but I want to hear what he has to say about the Knicks and Celtics series.
Mhm.
Text in your questions, 661-842-2000 right here. The Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 1230 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. You know what that music means. Bolt Brady from Bolt Brady and his bro is back. Go check him out on the Believe Network, BLEAV. Bolt, how are you, my friend?
Good morning, guys. What's going on?
Oh, not a whole ton, sir. Where do you want to start? NBA or should we go PGA?
We could go PGA.
PGA? Okay.
Yeah. What do you guys think about it so far?
Honestly, I knew that the weather was going to be a problem, but I didn't expect the leaderboard to be filled with so many. And I know this is a bad term, but nobodies, like people that we're not used to seeing. So, I mean, what are your thoughts? Did you expect Vegas to be up this high this early?
Well, no, I'm with you on the. I'll use another term. How about no namers?
No
right?
namers. That's a better way to put it. I'm sorry.
So it's been 30 years since a player that's ranked in the top 10 in the world has not been on the top 10 of a major after the first day. So that's why the leaderboard does look weird to us all.
And I mean, you have Max Homa up there right now, who is probably the most notable name. But do you think, like that once this course kind of dries up a little bit, that your more notable names, your DeChambeaus and Schefflers, will most likely rise into the leaderboard?
Yes, and those two names that you mentioned right there, I like them. They call Saturday moving day. So that's typically when the cream starts to rise to the top. And I do think Bryson and Scotty, especially Bryson, after looking at his scorecard yesterday, it's only the second time in his career that he hasn't gotten a birdie on a par 4, and he's still in the mix.
Wow, I did not know that. That's a good little tidbit. For right now, they have the cut line at 1 over, and you got a couple notable names down there, including guys like I'm looking down. Ludwig is down there right now. Ricky Fowler. I know that Spieth is down there. Do you think any of these guys kind of make a rise?
Maybe Spieth. I think he's 2 under today so far. So maybe he does. But yeah, a lot of these guys, they're not going to make the weekend. Like Dustin Johnson, and that guy's like in second to last place right now. I think that guy might have taken the paycheck and said, "See you later."
What is going on with Dustin too? He has not been playing well as of late.
Well, you got to practice, and sometimes when these guys, and it doesn't matter what sport they're in, if they get the big paycheck, and he got a big paycheck, it was upwards of like $150 million.
Right.
The drive might have gone with it.
I mean, Phil Mickelson is at 8 over at least, but he has the age thing going for him. I just don't understand what's going on with Dustin. I get the money situation and being comfortable, but you would assume that getting that contract would warrant you wanting to up your craft and actually get better at it.
Well, some people, that might be you, but there's lots of people over history that they get that paycheck and they're done. And in something, with professional sports, if you lose a little bit of that edge, it's going to set you way back.
That's a very good point. Who's your favorite right now to win this whole thing?
I think that today, if John Rahm continues to do well, I like John. I think he's one of the guys that signed the big paycheck that I think is still interested. And I think after the Masters, he didn't play that well. He came out the first day of the Masters and shot a +3, and that kind of shot him out of it, but he still ended up in 14th place. I think John will make a good run at this as well.
Do you have a long shot at all that you've kind of been eyeing that potentially could make a run, maybe in a group setting?
Well, you mentioned Max Homa, and one thing that sticks out to me about that is Max is currently 6 under. And so what I like to do is when guys really come out and fire one day, it is super difficult to back that up the next day. And so what I'm probably going to do is go against Max Homa tomorrow in the one-on-one matchup.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting thought. Let's move over a little bit to the NBA, though, because there's been a whole bunch going on over there. Obviously, 2 of the teams have already moved on, but we have a game tonight and a game 7 to talk about. Which one are you more excited for here, the Knicks against the Celtics or the game 7 that we have on Sunday?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm excited for both of them, but I guess probably the Nuggets. I just hope that Aaron Gordon plays. He's a little banged up. And then also need to keep an eye on Jamal Murray because he fought through some sickness and actually played great. But Aaron's a little banged up. But if he's okay, I really like the Nuggets plus the 7.5 in game 7. The last 2 weeks here on your show, the Nuggets has done well for us. So let's keep that rolling with them.
And right now I see that ESPN bets have the Knicks at 2.5 in tonight's game. Is that can't be right? Like it should be a little bit further away, in my opinion.
I would agree with that too, and I actually like the Knicks. As I've talked on here before, though, anytime the line's like 4 or under, I just like to take the money line on the team because I've seen way too many times in the past, guys, where a shot or a free throw at the end of the game that doesn't matter kills you on the line. So I do plan on money lining the Knicks tonight. The only time the Knicks have done poorly against Boston at home, they lost by 22, but that was obviously with Tatum. They shot 50% from the floor, and they were 20 for 40 from 3-ball land. I doubt that's going to happen again.
I have to agree with you. We have a couple text message questions for you real quick. Sparky, what do you got?
The first one says, I think Boston pushes the series to game 7, and I think Denver's momentum is going to get them over OKC, but I'm on the fence on if either teams can get by the T-Wolves. Does Bolt have the line for Sunday's game 7, and how does he think that one will pull out? And what does he think about the series with Minnesota?
So to answer one of those, so the line is 7.5 for game 7, Nuggets plus 7.5. That's actually come down 3 points because it was 10.5 and 10. So the line's actually sharpened up a little bit there. Boston, I just think that's wishful thinking. I mean, their leader, at least one of their leaders, he's out. I took Boston at home last game because I did think they'd come out with a spirited effort, showing everyone, hey, our leader's hurt, but we're going to rally at home and put on a good show. Now they have to go to Madison Square Garden, and I think it comes to an end.
I think the same thing. I mean, I'm rooting on the Knicks, but I'm not a Knicks fan. And I've been in plenty of sports where, the leader goes down and the team kind of gathers around and puts a good game together. But with Coach Tibbs, I think he'll get the team back. And like Burdick had said earlier, Brunson fouling out and, a couple guys that didn't really show up in that game. I think they're going to come back with the chip on their shoulder, and hopefully they can win it at home tonight.
Agree. And then to answer the question with the T-Wolves, wow, I like the T-Wolves are looking great. If the T-Wolves go up against the Thunder, I like the T-Wolves, but they go up against the Nuggets, I think they're going to have more difficulty there.
I mean, we had that series last year, right? And didn't that one go to 7 last year, if I'm not mistaken? But they had Cat on the team, so it was a completely different look. I don't know if they have anybody that can keep up with Joker. How do you think the betting lines would work on that? Would you think they would favor Denver more than Minnesota?
Probably because they'd have the home court advantage. They'd have the game 7. So more than likely, the Nuggets would be favored there, but not by much, though, I don't think.
Okay. And Sparky, we got any other ones?
Yeah, this one goes back to golf. He said, I need 3 golfers for a parlay. And do you guys have any sleepers that you think will finish in the top 10?
Well, I do like, especially where he is right now, I like Victor Hovland to finish in the top 10. I don't know, he's too much of a sleeper, but people aren't really talking about him. And then I do, like I mentioned earlier, I like Bryson and Scotty to continue to do well.
I think those are 3 great picks as well. I really can't think of much else to sit out of the top 10, though, because with the no-namers being up top, I can't expect them to stay there all weekend. It just doesn't happen like that usually.
No, I mean, Luke Donald, some people may remember, he was ranked number 1 in the world back in 2011. He's currently ranked 870th in the world. And the only reason that he got the invite is because he's an active Ryder Cup captain.
Oh, wow. That's gotta hurt a little bit. We got one more for you.
We got a second one, but this one goes into the NFL with the football release. It says, this saw that my Bills are favored to win all 17 games this season. How the hell did that happen? And as a Bills fan, that really makes me nervous. Is this something that is something that comes along once in a lifetime?
I think maybe the last time that happened was with the Patriots back in, I think it was 2016. But it's only the 1972 Miami Dolphins have gone undefeated. So I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
not happening.
That's the last thing we can say as a Dolphin fan. And the last one was, it says, reports came out that the MVP announcement of the NBA MVP was pushed back that they would usually announce it today. And it says, is it a lock that SGA wins it? Or do you think if Joker gets by OKC on Sunday, that maybe Joker comes in and steals that MVP award this year?
I think whoever wins that ball game is going to get the MVP.
Really? Okay. I have to lean on SGA still. I think that he just put it together a fantastic season. I don't think you can uproot that.
Well, I did have to look it up because I had no idea. I mean, a lot of the other awards have already been announced, and
Yes.
they had said that they didn't you want to give, Joker in OKC or the other way around, so that they're going to push the announcement to next week. So I don't know if it's been decided, or Bolt might just have it. Whoever wins this, they're playing for an MVP award too.
I mean, that's entirely possible.
They both have been playing great, though. It'll be fun to watch that game for sure. It's just, I'm just wondering, the Nuggets won the championship, let's not forget, only 2 years ago, and they're coming in with the exact same starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Thunder, who are all the young Bucks, so it'll be a great game.
I agree. You got anything else for us before we let you go?
I think that's it, guys.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from you next week, because hopefully we're talking about the Knicks and Pacers and the T-Wolves and hopefully OKC. I'd like to see the young guys. But no, we appreciate your time, Bolton. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Thanks, brother. We got to take a break real quick and pay some bills ourselves. You've been listening to the Early Bird Special on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. And don't forget, go follow us on all social medias at the Early Bird Special. We'll be right back. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
Nuggets Aaron Gordon said he is good to go.
He is good to go. Fantastic.
He'll
That is,
play game 7.
he's really their number one defender, and you need him because, again, like I said earlier, the best teams that we've seen Denver have, including the championship team from a couple years ago, number one defense in the NBA. And honestly, that's really what you need to slow down this Thunder team is just the proper defense to get it done. So we will see what we will see tonight. Obviously, I'm sorry, not tonight. Sunday. That is Sunday night's game. Tonight's game is the Knicks and Celtics. And
You can hear it right here on ESPN Bakersfield with coverage beginning at 4:30. Tip off
Absolutely.
is at 5. So hopefully I'll have that TV set up with the game on when I get back. But
It's
what
possible.
are you watching this weekend?
honestly, that's a good question.
pillow?
'Cause, yeah, my pillow for the most part. I am a tired individual. But no, I mean, I'm hoping to get to the movies at some point and catch something new. I did just get to go see Thunderbolts. Took my mom on Mother's Day, so that was a lot of fun.
Did you like it?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good, really well done. I found myself liking Wyatt Russell's character a lot more, the U.S. agent, than I did during that series that they had on Disney Plus. But it also just it made me wonder. It's like, okay, we're gonna have all of these teams at one point going against each other, right? Like that's what it is. It's just gonna be a giant civil war with 4 or 5 different superhero teams trying to stop each other. It's gonna be interesting. But
I'm watching after we get off tonight, I'll be taking the family out to eat real quick and then going and seeing the new Final Destination.
you'll have to let me know how that is.
I'm hoping it's
'cause
good.
we
We don't get out as a family too often.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be out at Kids Fest tomorrow morning,
Mhm.
so come say hi. But we'll be by the water slides. But we're gonna go pick up some. I think we're gonna hit Pizzaville, and then go watch Final Destination. We've also, as a family, the rare time that we all get in the same room is usually by dinner time for about an hour. So we just started the Daredevil series that Hop told me to watch. We're 2 episodes in, and I'm starting to like it. I really like of course I like the bad guy.
Mhm.
I can't remember his name, but the
Bullseye, or are we talking about Kingpin?
Kingpin.
Okay, so we're talking about Goomer Pyle from
Yes.
Full Metal Jacket.
It's a great actor,
There are many like it, but this one is mine.
I love that guy, man.
So such a good actor.
but I'm
Such a
hoping
good
to
actor.
get a couple episodes in between Kids Fest and work. And then SmackDown, I have no idea what to expect when SmackDown. I know there was a couple matches already scheduled.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to look into it either, to be honest with you. And actually, that's a good point too. That's another thing I'll be watching this weekend. Is I believe the finale of LFG will be this weekend.
Oh, so I'm gonna ask. I fell asleep the last 10 minutes. Do you remember who got?
Yeah, who moved on and who didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very well. It pretty much went the way I knew it was going to be. My boy Shiloh Hill obviously got chosen.
Shiloh got in. Cool.
And Jasper Troy, the guy that
Okay.
Booker T
Good.
is currently training.
I just wanted to make sure that Bubba Ray or whatever, BJ
No.
Ray or
BJ Ray did not make it, thank goodness. But
that was an
I
ugly
mean,
match.
I have my thoughts on that, but television is television, and they did what they did because they knew of how like it.
So
would Shiloh is
and
in
Jasper.
Yes, Shiloh will be your
Nice.
finale, and
then the
I'm hoping
women?
Shiloh wins.
Did the Olympic?
It's Tyra May Steele, the Olympic gold
Ah.
medalist, against Zelina, the Bubba Ray's girl from
the blonde chick.
the blonde girl. Yeah, the
Oh.
one that has kind of grown the most in the show.
Well,
Technically,
he's been drooling all over her since the beginning of it.
well, yeah, it
but
was the only one in his team that actually
Got him
grew at
points?
all. I enjoyed watching LFG. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, LFG is this show that the WWE has put on with A&E, where it's a competition show with all of their up and comers. Winner gets a contract, quote unquote, with their developmental show NXT. All of them are going to be on NXT. I'm going to tell you right now, every single one of them are going to be on NXT coming in the next couple months. But it's really interesting to see because you get to see a little bit of a behind the scenes look at how they train these guys and how like they go about the competitions, what they look for and what they're looking to create. And obviously it was led by 4 amazing legends in The Undertaker, Booker T, Bubba Ray Dudley, and Mickey James. The finale is 2 of Undertaker's guys against 1 of Booker T's and 1 of Bubba Ray's. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see.
Well, before we go, who's your picks tonight or who for the weekend? You think Boston or the Knicks
Knicks
take it?
tonight, Thunder on Sunday, Panthers close it out tonight as well in the NHL world. Sorry, Maple Leafs.
For once, we agree.
And I think in terms of LFG, I'm going Shiloh, Hill, and Zelina. I think that's my 2 winners of the show, but it's probably going to be Jasper Troy, to be honest with you. But that's all we got for you guys this week. Join us back here next week, 7 to 9 a.m. Sparky, let's get out of here.